Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day, and today guys we're going to be going over my updated Noxious Ice Rogue build for Season 2. Now a lot has changed with this build in regards with the Paragon Board and also our gear. I've moved some aspects around to accommodate some new uniques going into the build, and also my glyphs previously when I did the Noxious Ice build were barely level 15, and some of those glyphs I'm not even using anymore. So this is finally a fully updated build with all my glyphs leveled up, besides one because I kind of have just started testing it out. It does seem to be just a little bit better, but otherwise everything else has been maxed out. And also in that previous video we're already clearing like tier 100, because tier 100 is an absolute freaking joke right now inside of Season 2. But I didn't even have any of my glyphs fully leveled up. I was missing a lot of good rolls on my gear, on my aspects. I was missing some unique, and we're still clearing tier 100. I knew once we got all that gear that tier 100 was just going to be put on easy mode, and we can literally kind of almost do it blindfolded now. So this isn't going to be a full in-depth guide video on this build. I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys again with my voice any longer than I need to. La 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 la. So if you do want a more in-depth guide, go over and check out my first Noxious Ice build. I do explain a lot more things there, even though some things have changed. Most of it is still, most of the fundamentals are still exactly the same as my previous build video. So if you do want more explanation, go over and check that out. I will leave a link in the description below. And as always, I will still put the max roll build planner in the comment section below. I will pin it so you guys can find it a hell of a lot easier. So let's go over the things that have changed with this build, and it is definitely performing a hell of a lot better with these changes. Now our skills have not changed. We're still running Puncture, Twisting Blade, Poison Imbuement, Shadow Imbuement, Poison Trap, and also Shadow Step. None of that has changed. Now the things that have changed are in our skill tree. Now everything is pretty much the same except for when we get down to the imbuement section and also down into the ultimate skill section. I'm pretty sure I did have points into Shadow Crash and Consuming Shadows to give us more energy when we were killing enemies with shadow damage. We don't need that anymore because I have put 2 points into Innovation, which is going to give us a lucky hit chance, a 20% chance to gain 8 energy. This does a pretty good job at refilling our energy. Also our Frostburn gloves also have a lucky hit chance to also replenish our resource that we are using. And then we also have 2 points into Alchemist's Fortune. I think I took 1 point out of Exploit, so I could put another point here. And this is going to give our non-physical damage an extra 10% lucky hit chance. So if we go over to Poison, our Poison Imbuement has 47% lucky hit chance now, which is really good for the new ring that we are using, the Corroded Signet. I'll get more into that when we do get into our gear, but those are the things that have changed. I think I still had Trap Mastery, at least 2 points here. I still have the 3 points into Concussive. This is how we're going to get a nice 20% increased critical strike chance when we knock down enemies and if they are inside our poison trap. I think another thing that changed as well is I also put 2 points into Agile now. Agile's good because when we use a cooldown, we get 8% increased dodge chance for 3 seconds. Now in our Paragon board, we do have a section where when we have dodged an attack, we get increased damage. Now that is just damage, so that applies to everything that we do. So that is why I put 2 points into Agile now. And also the extra 8% dodge chance is actually pretty good. I do notice that we do dodge more attacks than when we didn't have Agile. Now I think that's it for the skill tree. I think that's everything that I did change from my previous build. Now moving on over to the bits of gear. Now, because we have got some new uniques in the form of the Corroded Signet and although Ashavara's Dagger, we've had to move some aspects around just to kind of keep everything that we want and also still be defensive. So now we're not running Shared Misery at all. I don't feel like you need it. We're just blitzing through enemies way too quick now, especially with the Corroded Signet and its massive poison nova damage that it does. So enemies are dying way too quick. You could still run Shared Misery if you really want to. You get more freeze procs out there and you probably do more damage overall. But I think just this way that it's set up is just a hell of a lot better. Umbrius is now on our helmet instead of Shared Misery. So this is still just going to give us more defense, and also we can still keep Dark Shroud out almost 100% of the time because our attack speed is pretty much doubled from the previous seasons now. So you don't really need it on your necklace anymore. For chest plate, we still have Disobedience. Frostburn is still our gloves. Frostburn is really good for this build because we're just able to freeze enemies instantly, and that synergizes really well with Noxious Ice. So now whenever we poison a frozen enemy, they're going to be taking 29% times poison damage. This also works with the Corroded Signet's poison damage. This works when you hit an enemy with poison imbued and they're frozen. All of this is going to increase that damage by 29% times. So I feel like that's why Frostburn, it just works a little bit better with the Noxious Ice build. I still want to try and get a better pair of gloves to work in this build. Maybe it might work with Frostbitten more than Noxious Ice. I haven't tried that out yet. But for now, Frostburn does seem to work way better if you are trying to use Noxious Ice. For our pants, we're still running Might. Might's incredibly strong. This giving us 20% damage reduction. We still have Accelerating on our bow, extremely strong this season, helping us cap out on attack speed now. Now for our necklace, I have decided to put Pestilent Points on here. It does give it a nice bonus, and it's kind of the only thing that I could think that would go on a necklace with all the aspects that we are actually running with this build. Still got Blade Dancers on the ring. Now for the new unique ring, Zaval's Corroded Signet. This thing is an absolute friggin' beast, man. This thing slaps harder than my old man after a case of beer, I tell you that. But no, all jokes aside, this ring is very strong, especially if you are using a damage over time build. So now when your damage over time lucky hits, you have a chance to proc this ring. You have a 50% chance to proc it when you do lucky hit with your damage over time, and it's going to erupt your damage over time, dealing 37,000 damage to all nearby enemies. And to get the best out of this ring, basically you want to try and boost all that elemental damage that this ring can do. So obviously when we're using poison, it's going to explode in poison damage. So with this build, I've tried my best to increase my poison damage as much as possible, so when this ring does proc, it does the most damage possible. And you can apply this same formula to Fire Sorcerer. Just take as much bonuses to fire damage. Barbarian, you want to take as much bonuses to bleed damage. So you do want to try and increase that non-physical damage as much as possible, and you will get a much bigger benefit out of the Corroded Signet. And now because we're a rogue and we have lots of ways we can apply poison damage over time, this ring is filthy. Like I said, it is just really, really strong with rogue. I'm assuming it's strong with every class because we can all use damage over time. Now for our dagger, I'm still running Bursting Venoms. And then for our next dagger, I did mention it before, but we are taking Ashahara's dagger. Now, I haven't got the best roll here, especially with the actual unique effect, but the affixes I have got are pretty good, and the best affix on the Ashahara's dagger, and the reason why a lot of poison rogues are using it, is because of the lucky hit chance. You can get up to 16.5% increased lucky hit chance, which is super good for poison rogues and trying to get the Corroded Signet to proc as much as possible. But the other stats aren't too bad. We get basic skill damage increase and also damage to crowd control enemy, and synced close quarter combat's kind of like the meta key passive to take as rogue. That also gives it a nice little bonus there. And even though I haven't got the best roll of the unique effect, it is just a good unique effect to have overall, even if it is a low roll. And what this unique ability does is going to increase your attack speed by 6% for 4 seconds up to 30%. So this again is how rogues are able to cap out on attack speed. Now I do apologize, I can't fully remember how the formula works. I probably should look it up, but there's 2 categories that you both need to get like 100 attack speed in each. I think one's gear and one might be Paragon board and stuff. I can't exactly remember, but either way you can only have 100% attack speed in each, but they combine with each other. And I think rogues this season can have up to 195% attack speed. We can't get to that 200% without overcapping, but 195% is probably what you're going to get with most rogue builds inside of season 2. So that's basically for the gear, guys. So the main thing that changed was the unique ring. We added in the Corroded Signet, we added in the Ashahara's dagger, and then we also moved the aspects around. So the Umbrius is now on our helmet, and the Pestilent Points is now on our necklace. Now for the Paragon Board, the Paragon Board pretty much stayed the same. Again, it all will be in that max roll build planner, but I will go over the glyphs. I will just touch on them briefly, but I have changed pretty much all my glyphs. Because if you guys do not know, the one thing that we do want to try and prioritize inside of season 2, because the damage formula has changed, is multiplicative damage. They thought they could take away our multiplicative damage, but everyone has figured out a way to just add it all back into the game, and our damage kind of hasn't changed that much at all, and now all the enemies have gotten weaker. It's funny. Now for my first glyph, we have Versatility. Now again, the only reason we want this is for the bonus. Now the bonus gives us a 15% times increase to non-basic and non-core skills. So everything that's non-basic and non-core, Poison Trap, Corroded Signet, Shadow Damage, Poison Imbuement, all this stuff is going to be increased by 15% times, which is fantastic. The next glyph I've taken is the Devious Glyph. Again, the bonus when we hit an enemy with an attack that applies a crowd controlled effect, they take 2% time up to 10% times increased damage from you for 20 seconds. Again, more multiplicative damage. I've also taken the Canny Glyph. This is going to give us a nice bonus to our non-physical damage, and also the bonus is also non-physical physical damage increases all the non-physical damage an enemy takes from you by 1% up to 10% time for 15 seconds. Again, more multiplicative damage, very, very nice. I've now got Turf. I think I had Turf before. I think this might be the only one that's carried over from the previous build. This is just going to give us a 10% damage reduction against close enemies and also a nice damage bonus to close enemies as well. Very, very nice glyph to have. I've also got the Control glyph, which again is going to give us a very nice damage bonus to crowd controlled enemies and also a very nice bonus where we get 10% increased damage to slowed or chilled enemies, and or we instead get 20% times increased damage to stun or frozen enemies. So because we're using Frostburn, we're trying to freeze enemies as much as possible and get as much poison damage onto those frozen enemies as possible. This is definitely going to help. Now for our last board, I have kind of, this is the big change. I have just gone with Eldritch Bounty now, which is just going to give us a nice 20% increased damage for that imbuement element for 9 seconds. So since we use poison imbuement a lot, this is again going to increase Corroded Signet's damage even further. On average, you're definitely going to get at least 6 to 7 mil crits from the Corroded Signet, and I think the Eldritch Bounty definitely does help with that. And for our last glyph is Efficiency. I'm probably actually saying that wrong. I have no clue. I think that's how you say that, but this is the last glyph that we are running, and the main reason we're running this is because, again, of the bonus, imbuement skill effects have 20% times increased potency. I did have Exploit Weakness, the legendary node. I did build out to the side to get that legendary node. I've taken that all back, and I've now filled out this board because I do feel like Eldritch Bounty is definitely a lot better, especially if you're using Corroded Signet. And of course, this glyph is just going to increase our poison imbuement further, and that is going to be a lot better for when we are bossing. So that's basically it, guys. Just a quick little update video on my Noxious Ice Rogue build. Now, again, this isn't the best rogue build out there. This is just a fun little rogue build I put together because I just like freezing enemies, and I wanted to try and do something different than all the Frostbitten builds I've done previously. So yes, this isn't the best rogue build ever, but you are definitely going to clear all bits of content with absolute ease. Like, you're going to have no trouble with any of the new bosses that have been added into Season 2 when I'm going to talk about Lilith, because who the fuck does Lilith? You're going to absolutely blitz through T100. I mean, T100 is a bit of a joke at the moment, but you can pretty much speedrun just about any dungeon because, you know, Corroded Signet's just going to explode and take out pretty much all the enemies for you. So hopefully this build video does help you guys out. Appreciate all the love and support as always, guys, and until next time, stay safe, peace out.